What is up, my peepholes? This is your guy, Cly, and it's time for a little DIY. Today's video is a little bit of a spin-off of my marbled coffee mug, which, believe it or not, that video still gets several hundred views a day, despite the fact that my channel is so tiny, I can barely pull several hundred views on a single video during its lifetime. And yet, that's not the motivation behind me actually doing this project. Unlike the etched glass I did a while back, I'll put a link right about here if you need to get any more gift ideas. No, instead, what I'm doing is redesigning my channel art as well as the artwork on clyfaker.com, and I can't draw, but I can sculpt, I can paint, I can compose a photograph, so I'm going to be making a few geeky items that I will be putting in little collages and then running through AI-driven photo filters to make them look hand-drawn. I cheat, but I'm getting things done my way. Anyway, for that artwork, as well as a really neat pendant for myself and for my girlfriend, I'm going to be marbling a Meeple. Let's go ahead and pull the shot in a little bit more. There we go. If you're unfamiliar with the mighty Meeple, what it is a generic game piece. You're going to find them in games like Carcassonne, Wits and Wagers Family Edition, a crap ton of board games that I can't remember the name of. But due to the fact that this little guy is so ubiquitous, it has become the de facto symbol of the board gaming community. Kind of like how the D20 has become the de facto symbol of the tabletop RPG community, despite the fact that a lot of RPGs don't even use D20s. I've played D10 systems, D6 systems, diceless systems, and yet people still call on the D20 to represent that hobby. Man, I cannot speak, and I'm going to stick with this take because I've done way too many already. I guess the fact that they don't pull on the D6 is due to the fact that that one's kind of been co-opted by casinos. Anyway, I actually don't want to ruin my Meeple. He needs to go back into Carcassonne. So what I've done is use Ugu to make a Meeple Mold. Just in case the shadows are making things difficult to see, I've made a Meeple Mold. I'm not going to link the video where I talk about Ugu because that's from a dark period in my past that I never want to reference again. But you will see this material popping up in the near future. It's a homemade molding compound made using 1 part silicone caulk, 1 part cornstarch, and a few drops of acrylic paint. What I've done with said Meeple Mold is make a polymer clay Meeple. Actually, I've made quite a few polymer clay Meeples because I'm repainting quite a few of them to match a lot of my different die sets, mainly the green and black ones, kind of like this one here. Oh hey, look, I already marbled a Meeple to match it. Green and black's kind of my color scheme, gotta stick with it. Tangent aside, let's go ahead and pull out the shot and tell you what you're actually going to need/have as an optional inclusion in this project. You need your Meeple. He's kind of mandatory. Well, unless you want to marble something else. Anything this size will work with today's project, but I'm sticking with the Meeple. You're going to need some nail polish. I cheaped out and got mine from Dollar Tree yet again. And to go with the festive time of year that I'm recording this, I'm going with metallic red and metallic green. And of course, you can't forget your clear top coat. This not only protects your nail polish, but it brings out the metallic undertones because I found that these kind of dry in a dull manner. Every polish in that brand dries in a dull, non-glossy manner. This really makes it pop. You're also going to need a cup you don't mind getting dirty or throwing out, a very small drill bit that is annoying to pick up, and there we go. That's a 1/32 of an inch drill bit, and of course a power drill or some way to hold it. I'll show you why you need that shortly. Some toothpicks, which are part of why you need the drill bit. And I do believe that's it for the mandatory part of this project. As for the optional, let's go ahead and move all of this out of the way. To store your meeples while they're drying, you may want to get some floral foam. Or, optionally to your option, I can't think of the proper synonym right now. Instead of this, you could go with standard styrofoam that you can pull out of the trash, really, or any object you've ordered recently that was considered breakable. You're going to need a paper plate to protect your work surface. If you're working on something like this, you don't necessarily need that, but I will be using it. If you're going to actually turn the meeple into a pendant, you're going to need a way to affix it to your cord or chain. You could optionally use some very tiny eye hooks. I picked these up for $1 for a pack of 14. That's not bad. Or, one of the ones I'm going to be doing today involves some very thin wire and jump rings. I will show you how to do that in a few. And of course, something to something to stick your pendant on. For myself, I'm going to be using some 3mm waxed cotton cord. But for the one that I'm making my girlfriend, I actually went ahead and made a very nice red and green Byzantine chain. If you want to know how to make this chain, don't worry. I actually have a tutorial in the works right now. I'm kind of almost completely done with the piece that I'm going to be using to demonstrate. I don't need this one today, though. And I think that just about covers it, so I'm going to pull this shot out and get on to the next stage. So first up, you're going to want to take your little Meeple guy and drill a hole in him. Now, if you're just going to be marbling him to use in a board game, you could go in from the bottom. Do not put your finger over the tip. If you're going to be turning him into a pendant, I actually suggest going in from the head so that you don't have a gnarly exit wound. Let's just, there we go. Sadly, that wasn't as crooked as I thought. I don't have a drill press, so I can't get everything lined up perfectly. But all in all, that wasn't terrible. Next, get yourself one of your toothpicks. You're actually going to go through at least 2 of these during this process. And place your meeple on top. There we go. This helps facilitate the dip. And also it makes things a whole heck of a lot easier when you're drying. Speaking of, let's go ahead and grab my floral foam, as well as my base color. You're going to want to choose one of your nail polishes that's going to act as your base, and then the other one's going to be your highlight. I've found it works best if I go with green as my base, red as my highlight. And I just want to get a nice, thorough coat on this guy. That way, when I do dip, if I have any missed areas, you're actually not going to see them that much. So, let's go ahead and take the polish. It will take a couple of coats to do everything all the way through, but I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I will be back when I am done. And if you're wondering why I have the floral foam here, it's so it can sit there while drying. It makes the whole process a whole heck of a lot easier. I'll be right back. All right, he's nice and dry and ready to dunk. So let me go ahead and pull my cup of water in. I'm just using cool water this time due to the fact that my surface is so small, I don't have to worry about it congealing before I get to the task at hand. Now, I want red to be the top coat popping color, so I don't want it to get muddied down by the green. I'm going to go ahead and put this in first. There we go. Let's try to get a good flow going. Don't want it to have to fall too far. There we are. Now, to bring in some green. I used a lot of red. Holy poop. Let's go ahead and bring in a bit of green. In testing, it didn't flow that well at all. Maybe there's a temperature differential right now? I just don't know. I have had somebody ask me, why are you using the same color you just painted down in your dip? And that's because it gives me control. I actually get to see the swirl as it happens. Here I go using my other toothpick. Just going to mix things up. I don't want there to be too much of one color in any one spot. There we go. And I think that's good enough. Don't get rid of this toothpick. You're going to need it in a second. Now, figure out which part of the meeple you want to face forward. I'll go with this one arbitrarily. And bring it in. Now, use your toothpick to just scrape away at the surface. You don't want too much to smack it on the way back up. There we go. Some nice ribbons. And if you have any water bubbles, it's not a bad idea to have a paper towel handy to just wick them up. I am going to set this little guy aside. I actually really like how it turned out. Back into the foam. Let it dry for quite a while. Due to the fact that it has to dry for quite a while, I have already prepped one. Here we go. Once again, I love how the colors turned out. I don't like how the lighting ended up on that, so let's go ahead and pull in the shot. There we go. Shaky cam. I really like how this color combo turns out. If you're wondering, I have already applied my clear coat. That's why the red pops and the green shimmers. And now I want to convert it into a necklace. Like I said before, you could use one of the little eye hooks. I don't mind doing it for myself because I'm just putting it on a black cord. But due to the fact that I have the nice Byzantine chain for my girlfriend, I need to make a little eye hook holder. So let's get a little bit, let's pull the shot out a bit. I'm gonna just get a little of my red wire here. I'm using 26 gauge. Oh, they did a good job tying it on. Fortunately, I have some snips. I don't mind wasting a little bit just because of how long 26 gauge lasts me. All right, so I've cut a small length of my 26 gauge wire and I have a 20 gauge red jump ring right here. I'm just gonna thread the wire through and bring it down. I wanna create a small loop that's about just wide enough for the jump ring. Let's go ahead and bring in some pliers to pinch it the rest of the way down. There we go. Ta-da! And by squeezing it shut, I get an ability to, or I gain the ability, I should say, to thread it into the meeple. Just want to make sure things line up. It's not half bad. And of course, I left a little bit of excess wire. That's fine. I can just snip that using these flush cutters. Double check my length. There we go. And in order to get this to stay put, I'm going to use a little super glue. There we go. Just a drop or two onto the hook. There we go. I was afraid I was going to spray super glue everywhere like I have done many a time in the past. Bring Mr. Meeple back up. And I would say that it's good. That should hold already. Excellent. You gotta love the fact that this polymer clay is slightly porous on the inside. This is Sculpey Original. And as such, it dries pretty quickly in there. Now I want to find the center link in this chain. Let's go ahead and just bring it down. This is completely optional at this point, but I have found it. It is this one right here. I just need to take my jump ring, find the opening. There we are. Oh, I lost it. There we go. That's the fun part of working with such tiny rings. Imagine how frustrating that was. There we go. Let's go ahead and open it up. Grab my chain and link it through. I'm doing this through the viewfinder, but it's not that bad. There we go. Come on. There we are. I'm so glad the Byzantine chain I'm making for myself uses larger links. But there we have it. One festive Meeple pendant on a Byzantine chain. For myself, I'm just going to take this bad boy due to the fact that my eye hooks are actually the perfect size for this. Where did I put that cord? Ah, I had it out of the way. For myself, I'm just going to take that Meeple, take the cord, and push it through. Yeah, I'm low maintenance. Then again, so is she. She would have been perfectly fine with her Meeple on a cord, but she's getting a fancy chain. Mainly due to the fact that I'm already making one for myself. I can't wait to show you how to make this. Anyway, I hope I didn't go on too many tangents, and I hope you learned a new trick for modifying your Meeples for gameplay or jewelry. And until next time, this is your guy, Kalai, signing off.